where you're kneeling must seem like an 18-carat run of bad luck. Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
Ladies and gentlemen, as always, I'm your host, AirsoftAL, and welcome to another episode of Media Reviews. Chapter 32, ladies and gentlemen, and this one's titled PMC. But before we get into the chapter itself, I just want to... The last review, I asked Ron when the U.S. Army was going to come in. And after seeing the video, he confirmed that the U.S. Army is in fact coming in Chapter 33 and 34. Meaning that unlike J.R.R. Martin, who is taking a long-ass time to finish his books, Ron actually understands. So I don't have to turn to a pimp named Slickback, and I don't have to go and pimp slap the man into the next fucking century. I forgot he's not a man, he's a talking cat. So I don't gotta pimp slap a cat to the next fucking century. But I will say this, ladies and gentlemen, this chapter, actually pretty exciting because it's filled with politics!
Alright, I gotta leave, okay?
John, we just started. Come on, man.
Listen, there's a lot to see in this life. Not wasting it here.
Before you go to kill me, two things. Number one, it's not Star Wars. Or at least, too many who believe the boring Star Wars politics. And number two, I'm fucking armed to the teeth. Yes, most of them are airsoft guns, but some are actually real steel. Can you tell which one's the real steel? Moving on. So, Chapter 32 PMC, what happens? Well, the news of the, of course, attack does come back to the States, and yeah, that's about it. Everyone knows what exactly happens. That's not the important part. Moving on, though. We go to, of course, the otherworldly French, who are basically doing what they can to hold the line, but it is losing. Much like World War II, when it started off and the invasion of France happened, they're getting steamrolled to high hell, because, of course, their version of the Maginot Line has fallen, and the military is doing everything in its power to basically hold the line. Even going as far as to try and plead with the leadership to call on the Americans for help. However, they can't, because when the secretary, basically, the president is sitting in his, war room, what have you, basically the secretary of affairs, what have you, look, the important person that talks to the president comes up and tells him, look, we tried talking to the French, but they're being French right now.
Oh, you Americans, you're done for the baby. Fuck all of you Americans!
That's essentially what's going on. They're being too fucking French. They are so stuck up their own ass that they can't see reason. At least the political leadership is. The military, on the other hand, like I said in the last video, I am waiting for a coup to happen, or at least some form of mutiny to happen, to basically force the government heads to accept military intervention, or at least in this case, America's help, because America is now at war with the fucking elves, those Nazi sons of bitches!
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
Hang on! And then the whole thing of the Beastman Kingdom comes up. Now, the Beastman Kingdom, which Ron has stated in the interview that we actually did, and even some other things, try to help me understand how to pronounce some of these names. Suomi, Suone, Suone, Suone. God fucking damn it. Okay, we'll just call them the Beastman Kingdom, okay? Let's just say that. We'll call them the Beastman Kingdom. That way, I can save my tongue-twisting self from being tongue-twisted. God damn it. Okay, moving on. So, when the question came up for the Beastman Kingdom to actually try and form political ties with the United States, political fuckery happens. I'm not joking on this, actual political fuckery happens. So the Beastman Kingdom is allied with, of course, the otherworldly French, and the otherworldly French actually handles all political reasoning and stuff for the Beastmen. What the fuck?
If everything you're doing is bad, I want you to know this.
Okay. You know you failed as a nation if, number one, you allow a country to basically dictate all politics and your own political ties, as well as anything related to politics outside the nation for any sort of political or trade or what have you. They've essentially got a monopoly on your politics outside of your nation. Number two, you have failed as a nation when you yourself cannot physically or legally contact other nations to form political ties, and you have to go through Big Brother to do so. And number 3, really, Frenchies, you just shot yourself in the foot. You really have. You literally just shot yourself politically in the foot, because the Beastman Kingdom are coming to you for help because they're getting invaded by the elves. The elves are basically harassing them. But no, your dumbasses essentially said, oh, yeah, no, we can't do that. Speaking of the elves, we'll get to them in a second, because they're pulling some hypocritical shit. The otherworldly Frenchies, the Magus, essentially told the Beastmen, yeah, no, sorry, we can't help you because we're currently dealing with the elves, these Nazi sons of bitches, basically blitzkrieging us and essentially pushing us back damn near to our capital. And the Beastmen decide, you know what, fuck you guys, we're going to do it ourselves. And they do that. But before we get to that, let's go ahead and get back to the front lines. What's happening on the front lines, or at least with the Nazi sons of bitches themselves? Well, the Nazi sons of bitches actually are being hypocrites! Big surprise! What do I mean by this? I mean, apparently they don't want to go on the whole genocidal thing. Instead, they want to actually form a non-aggression pact with one human nation and use them as cattle. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, slavery. An actual fucking, honest-to-God slavery.
Excuse me, the fuck did you just say?
Because, of course, you know, genociding an entire fucking race, that wasn't enough. No. Let's just go ahead and check off that evil bastards I want to kill now and basically take a bullet to. Let's just go ahead and add slavery into that mix. Why don't we? Oh, dear God. Okay. So, moving away from that, basically making me want to grab a gun and shoot them in the goddamn head. Bunch of sons of bitches. Let's go back to America. What's going on in America? Well, ladies and gentlemen, in America, the Suomi are actually meeting... Holy shit, I actually said their name without tongue-twisting myself. The Suomis, or the Beastman Kingdom, representative, the ambassador, is meeting with, of course, the American ambassador. And how does that go? Well, let me just go ahead and give you a nice little summary. Essentially, they're coming to America to essentially ask for help, because the French aren't doing shit to help them, and they have seen exactly the American might. Which I applaud them on. I mean, good on you. You recognize America as the awesome superpower it is, and bring you peace, prosperity, democracy, and freedom. But there's a problem.
Of course!
And a small little catch. Because technically speaking, the Suomi have to go through, or at least the Beastman Kingdom have to go through the French in order to actually do any sort of political negotiations, alliances, ties, economic trade. They kind of have their hands tied. America technically cannot get in there. They can't intervene on their behalf, on the government's behest or request, because they have to go through the elderworldly French, who have basically got their heads so far up their fucking ass that it's up there for the goddamn warmth. And my God, is that a goddamn headache? Because, like I said, they literally shot themselves in the foot, politically speaking, because now the Suomi probably will not trust the elderworldly French for obvious fucking reasons. And number 2, you've essentially ostracized an ally. You don't do that. To anyone who's ever played an RTS game, or at least any sort of online game where, actual micromanaging and actually keeping up political and military alliances is an actual thing to winning a match. And yes, I did this once. When my buddy on RTS, I believe it was Command and Conquer, I think. I can't remember. Either way, though. It was either Command and Conquer or Civilization, one of the two. Either way, though. A buddy of mine, we were playing online one day, and he asked for my help, and I was bogged down over here. Yes, I could have spared a few infantry units to basically go help him out, but I told him, look, I can't exactly, I'm dealing with these guys' frontal attacks, I think they got nukes, I gotta deal with this guy. Friend was pissed, we had an argument afterwards. That's essentially what's going on right now. They're gonna have an argument afterwards when this whole thing is basically done and over with. Now, when the news comes back to the president has a little grin, saying that while the United States might not be able to help them, That's not to say PMC companies can't. And gave them and told them to basically send them to that PMC company, or at least in this case, he made a phone call to someone who apparently is sitting at a desk playing with a Rubik's Cube in one hand, and calls themselves. Hold on, let me check and see what they call themselves. They call themselves the Diamond Wolves.
Dogs of war for 9 whole years. That ends today. Now you're not sleeping, and we're not junkyard hounds. We're diamond dogs.
Ron, you son of a bitch! You magnificent bastard! To those of you who don't get it and don't understand it, Ron essentially just put in one of the greatest PMC companies ever in video game history. One of the greatest things of all time, from one of the greatest franchises of all time. Yes, I know you're going to argue in the comments section about Battlefield and Call of Duty. You can go fuck yourselves on this one. Metal Gear Solid reference, baby!
Brother! It's been too long.
Does that mean we're gonna get a big boss?
Ha! Ah! 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 Ah!
'Impossible. You ejected the first bullet by hand, didn't you? I see what you were trying to do, but testing a technique you've only heard about in the middle of battle wasn't very smart. You were asking to have your gun jam on you. Besides, I don't think you're cut out for an automatic in the first place. You tend to twist your elbow to absorb the recoil. That's more of a revolver technique.
Does that mean we're gonna get an Ocelot Beastman who basically starts twirling Colt single-action armies and revolvers?
Ocelots are proud creatures. They prefer to hunt alone. Shots.
Does this mean we're gonna get someone called Snake Eater? Okay, calming down. Back to the chapter because... Oh my god, yes! I'm gonna save my fan reaction until after we get done reviewing this chapter. And my speculations. So, the representative for the United States comes back to, of course, the the people for the Suomi Kingdom, and tells them while the United States cannot technically get involved, some PMCs can get involved. And when asked what exactly is a PMC, they put out bluntly, mercenaries. And for those of you who don't know, technically speaking, yes, private military contractors, which they're called nowadays, are technically the new mercenaries. And while, yes, many of you might point out, oh, they're probably going to hire the mercenaries to do this, not exactly. While, yes, mercenaries will exactly be a private military for hire, and I stated in the last review that the mercenaries are probably having a goddamn field day with the fact that they're probably being bought in gold, I don't see the mercenaries doing the whole army thing. This ain't Rhodesia, ladies and gentlemen. This ain't Africa. Instead, what I can see them doing is probably doing HVT, hunt and extraction, or at least hunting down HVTs to basically pick up, sell to the United States through the CIA and doing its thing, selling weapons to, of course, the Suomi, which we'll get to that in a minute, and a lot of other stuff. But, either way, though. So, the representative for America basically gives them an address, tells them where to go, and literally says, and I quote, I understand the United States has no knowledge of these people, and if they do something you don't like, we're not fucking responsible for it. which once again is another thing because America now has plausible deniability in the actual grand scale of things. And the only people who understand and know about this is the representative of the United States, the president, the Suomi representative, the ambassador to, of course, Magus, because I forgot to mention he's there, as well as the captain from the Magus ship that originally came to the United States, which was also there. And here's the thing, folks. They're right. PMCs are not standard military. PMCs are exactly what they sound like. They're private military contractors. And yes, they're basically mercenaries. And while, yes, some PMC groups are much better than others, there have been times where PMCs have basically done things that not have always been, not good, in a sense. Let's just go ahead and say this right now. PMCs, a lot of them are good, a lot of them not so much. Like, a lot of them not so much. Moving on. And with that ends the chapter, and a cliffhanger of the meeting between the Diamond Wolves and the... Oh my fucking god, yes! Okay. What do I think of this chapter? What I think about it is actually really good. Not only does it show us the political struggle that's going on in the world right now, especially between all the different factions, it also shows the hypocrisy in the Nazi elf motherfuckers, because originally their whole thing was genocide entire human race. They wanted to exterminate the human race, they wanted to essentially wipe them out, but some don't want to do that. Some actually want to have humans as slaves, and maybe playthings. Because of course you would, you bunch of hypocritical dumbasses. And of course we do get to see the French, and of course their political struggle that's going on right now, as well as the fact of, oh yeah, they're getting their ass kicked. And then we get to see the actual political stage of what's going on, and the fact of, well, all this shit's happening. They exactly can't do diddly dick. But we do get to see something that I have been hoping for a long time, which of course is outside the standard US military, what about all the other groups? And this is where the speculation starts. But before the start of the speculation, I just want to say this now, this is a good chapter, I love it, I'm looking forward to the next one. But the speculation, ladies and gentlemen, oh boy, let's get into it. So, speculation time. The PMCs, I can see this going down. Number one, Diamond Wolves. I'm looking forward to it because Metal Gear Solid. I'm looking forward to it so much. Number two, I can see the PMCs being paid a shit ton of gold. Because gold, diamonds, and other things that they can basically make a lot of money on. I can see them actually giving the Suomis not only three things. Number one, they're going to be advisors by this point in time. They're not going to get involved in a war unless they have to. And if they have to, then they are going to basically do number two, which we will get back to number two after I'm done with number one. Why do I see them being advisors? Because PMCs, especially nowadays in our world, are acting like advisors for not only military, but also infrastructure and even security and local law enforcement. I'm dead serious on this. A lot of PMC groups nowadays actually act as administrative or advisors on the modern world. They're no longer just frontline soldiers hired to kill people. They've moved away from that, and they're more along the lines of essentially instructors for hire, or even stabilizing governmental administrative forces for hire. And I can see that happening in this case, where they essentially bring a lot of surplus guns, i.e. a lot of Vietnam and Grenada-era weapons, and bring them to the Suomi to basically give them, just basically tell them, look, you bought this stuff, here you go. Now, I see a lot of you saying, well, no, wait a minute, that's a bad idea to give them some of these. It's not. Because if you've ever watched Lord of War, you know the U.S. has been doing that sort of thing for a long damn time, especially in the modern world where the CIA and even a lot of other companies now are extremely tracking guns. I'm dead serious on this. If the Suomi didn't go through the PMCs to buy guns, they would have been directed to a CIA spook arms dealer who sells guns. And the CIA does actually track their arms sales. How, you may ask? Well, I'm not sure if this is confirmed or denied, but they actually do have trackers in the shipment of guns themselves. So if they try to, do all that sort of thing, yeah, no, it's definitely going to be what have you, especially a lot of other stuff, like having one of their own sponsored guys actually inside the groups. That way, if the one guy that they sold guns to tried to actually turn around and stab the U.S. in the back, that guy can meet an accident, and the CIA-sponsored guy takes his place. Again, they have a lot of fail-safes in there, especially now with magic involved in this world. I could see the CIA talking with a lot of magicians and stuff to actually use tracker spells on all the guns. That way, if something goes wrong, they know where the gun is, that way they can go in and deal with the situation. That out of the way. The other thing is that the PMCs, yes, sell guns, but they're also giving a percentage back to the U.S. A lot of people didn't know that, did you? Yeah, they do that, actually. They do give a percentage back to the United States. Why? Once again, Lord of War. Yeah. We are the biggest arms dealer of the world. Back to the story, back to my speculation, of course. Like I said, I could see the PMCs, especially the Diamond Wolves, doing their thing and actually teaching these guys how to be actual proper soldiers. Giving them camouflage that actually fits them, giving them weapons they can use. I can see them giving them AR-10s because depending on how big these guys are, if they're like a foot taller than us and much more widely built, like muscular build, I could see them giving them much more bigger caliber guns to compensate for their bigger build. I could see them giving them 308 or 7.62 NATO styled weapons. I could see them giving them heavier machine guns like 7.62 54R, or at least, you know, PKM machine guns. 50 cal, you know, basically very large caliber guns. As for, you know, something of that nature, besides, of course, AR-10s or even M16A1s, I could see them also giving them something a little bit much more heavier build, like maybe some M14s, or even, you know, something along the lines of just large caliber battle rifles. I could definitely see them giving them M14s because it's a 308 caliber round / 7.62 NATO, which of course is 7.62 by 54. It's a very reliable gun in a sense, unless you, of course, you go to InRange TV's mud test, and then you see how the M14 doesn't exactly do well in the mud. But either way, it worked good in the jungle of Vietnam. It'll work good here. And there's a lot of M14s on the market. I'm not joking on that, guys, especially in the civilian market. We have a ton of M14s. Yes, I know they're M1A1s, but you get what I'm saying. Aside, of course, from the troop training, I could see them actually restructuring their military so that way it's a much more coordinated, much more fluent military structure. Especially with equipment, I could see them actually giving them old tanks, like old Patton tanks, or other, like, Vietnam-era equipment for them to use. And before anyone says why, here's a good example. When America was selling off its surplus of Vietnam-era guns, we sold them to the Philippines, we sold them to South Korea, we sold them to Japan, we sold them to Taiwan. We sell off surplus guns like they're pancakes and all-you-can-eat pancake buffet. I'm not joking on that, ladies and gentlemen. Moving on. And if you're wondering why I'm shaking, it's because I'm getting excited because Diamond Wolves! Diamond Dogs! Ocelot, Big Boss. Moving on. Second thing I can see the mercenaries doing, I can see the mercenaries actually doing Navy SEAL style shit. As in, I could see them actually going after HVTs or high-value targets. And actually capturing them to basically bring them back and contacting the CIA or, you know, one of the operatives in America to basically contact the American government and be like, hey, America, we got this Nazi elf general or officer or intelligence officer, what have you, right here, and we're willing to give him up to you for a certain price. I'm not joking on that. Actual PMCs have done that before. I'm not joking on that. They have actually ransomed off high-rank actual HVTs to the American government. And yes, we have actually paid them. Moving on, of course. Aside from that, I could also see them doing, like, actual, you know, special operations, or at least something similar to Spec Ops, to basically help out the Suomi. Because, once again, they're probably getting paid a lot of money in gold. So they're going to offer their services in full to those guys who are paying them a lot of money in gold. Or diamonds, or other rare minerals that can make them a lot of money. And what do I mean by a lot of money? I mean, if the Suomi pays them enough money, they could probably buy multiple Jumbotrons. That's the best way I can describe it. They'd probably be buying a ton of Jumbotrons in their own private island. Or maybe an oil rig to where they can build up Mother Base. God damn it, I know it's not technically Metal Gear, but I can't help it! I am so looking forward to this! Moving on. Outside of that, of course, what else do I think is going to happen? Well, like I said, I can see a lot of stuff happening, but at the same time, it just depends on how things go. Will they actually be doing a lot of cool stuff with the Will Ron be doing a lot of cool stuff with the PMCs? I hope. Will Ron be doing a lot of Metal Gear Solid tips and nods to the Metal Gear Solid franchise, or at least Metal Gear Solid 5, Phantom Pain? I hope. And will we be disappointed? I hope not, because if we do get disappointed, I'm going to reach to this camera, or at least I'm going to find Ron, that son of a bitch, and I'm going to smack the ever-living hell out of him. Either way, though, let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of PMCs. What do you think the Diamond Wolves?
We're diamond dogs.
I know you're probably going to get tired of that clip, but I'm sorry. What do you think this PMC group is going to do with the government that is hiring them for probably a shit ton of gold and diamonds and rare minerals? Let me know in the comment section down below. Also, to anyone who actually knows PMCs and the shady underbelly and underworld that they have done, sound off in the comment section down below what you think they'd probably do. And to everyone else, the chapter for which this is actually, the whole video is on, is pinned in the comment down below. Also, if you guys want to help support the channel, then consider donating to our PayPal. It's folks like you that actually help out the channel and kind of allow us to do the things we do. Anyway, though, thank you all for watching. As always, I've been AirsoftAL, the Commons Airsofter, who reviews media because, well, I have to supplement my portfolio so YouTube's happy. Till next time.